Welcome. We're so glad you're able to join us for our first live stream Mosaic of Flavor class. It's great to see everybody out there. Not really, but sort of. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Carrie. I'm City Market's Assistant Outreach and Education Manager. We're so excited to be able to partner with USCRI and be able to offer our Mosaic of Flavor series once again. Slightly different format than I know a lot of you are used to, but hopefully this is going to be just as exciting, just as fun, and just as memorable. I'm going to turn things over to Anna, who's helping us organize these classes, and then she will introduce our instructor. Thanks so much. Anna, take it away.
Good evening. Welcome to the South End Teaching Kitchen. My name is Anna Mays, and I am the volunteer coordinator for the Mosaic of Flavor series. We're really excited, as Carrie mentioned, to have this series back available to everyone. We've taken a bit of a hiatus since March, and this is our first live stream class. So we're super excited for this evening. Before I introduce our instructor for tonight, I'm just going to say a few words about this series. The Mosaic of Flavor series began in 2011 and is a partnership between the USCRI Vermont, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants Vermont, and City Market. Our goal with this series is to invite a cook each month from a different New American community to come and teach us recipes, and through sharing recipes and stories and discussion, really learn about the New American community here in the Burlington area, as well as learn amazing recipes from other parts of the world. And to that, I wanted to just mention, everyone should have received this handout we sent just a couple minutes ago. And in the back, we've got a map of Bosnia-Herzegovina. So feel free, as our instructor is telling you a little bit about her background, to follow along with the map, as well as with the recipe. This class is designed really as a demo, not necessarily a cook-along, so she'll be moving at a pretty fast clip. Davorka is an amazing chef, and the class will be available afterwards. It will be recorded tonight and available on the City Market website. We will also be sending out a link to those who participated, so feel free to rewatch as you're actually making this recipe in your home kitchen. So the way it's going to work is we're going to take about an hour now to do the cooking demo. Davorka will share a little bit about her background now, and then we will have about 30 minutes at the end to really sit down and have a more in-depth discussion with her, to really chat and ask some questions. We've prepared some questions for her, and we would also encourage you to write down any questions you have throughout, to be able to ask those in the chat box during the Q&A afterwards. If you have questions about the cooking component as she's working, feel free to send those in, and Carrie will be chiming in with those questions. So we're trying to make this as interactive and participatory as we can with this new format. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our instructor tonight. Davorka Gosto is one of our long-standing instructors. She has been volunteering with USCRI and teaching classes at the Teaching Kitchen here at City Market for many, many years. She's an amazing cook. Her family is very lucky to have her currently, because she has a new job as, in addition to running her catering business, Mostar Home Catering. She is also cooking almost full-time for her new grandson. So she's going to talk a little bit about that in the Q&A as well. Davorka is also the author of 2 books, From Mama's Kitchen, Cuisine of Herzegovina, and then A Mother's Journey Through War. And she's actually working on a 3rd book right now, which feel free to ask her about afterward. Please join me in welcoming Davorka Gosto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and I'm really happy to be here tonight again, and in different form, but I'm ready to cook, and I will be ready for your questions if you have for me. And tonight we will make sarma, and sarma is a recipe for the stuffed sour cabbage. For sarma we need, I'll just get on, it's a cabbage, and then it's a sour cabbage. It's prepared already And I got this at the Euro Market. This is already sour, pickled cabbage in leaves, rolled, ready for use. You can shred it or you can stuff it for this meal. Well, if you want to make your own sour cabbage, you have to buy cabbage. And then you actually have to dig inside the core. And after you do that, you can put in one 5-gallon bucket a few heads, maybe 3, 4. And in each hole, you put kosher salt to sit for a couple of days. And then after that, you pour water, not too cold, not too warm, but in that bucket and pressed, and leave it and forget for a while. That's how you get to sour cabbage. And
How long would you say?
it's usually 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3
Weeks you can use it. I usually leave longer, and then I put in the freezer, and then I make more. And but that's something what you can make yourself. It's a simple process, but it is. It's also, if you're going to be cooking or if you like this dish, it's easier to work with something what you already make yourself. This is a really perfect size for stuffing cabbage. This medium size heads, really. And that's about cabbage. For everything else, what we need tonight, we need 1.5 pound ground beef. I usually use 80%, not any less fat. And this is going to be serving 4 to 5 people. And the 1 cup of rice, which we have already over here, it's washed. And then we need onion, 1 medium-sized onion, we chopped. And we need the pepper and salt, which we will add once we get to the meat. And 1 tablespoon of vegeta. Vegeta is a dry vegetable ingredients, seasoning stuff, what you can also get in Euro Market. It's a local ethno shop. Everybody shop around. And my kids joke with me, but they find other things on YouTube that some other guy talk about whatever your mother makes. You know, beef or chicken or whatever, even fish. Vegeta goes in. It's part of our meals.
Yeah.
It's good seasoning stuff. And then 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 medium carrot. It's already pre-chopped. We did this preparation just before the class. 2 cloves of garlic or more, depends how much you like to feel that. And then parsley, 1 tablespoon of parsley or more. We will use some chopped parsley for garnishing the plate after it's made. And then we need 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, which we add a halfway of cooking in a pot with the cabbage. I think I cover everything else. And then most important thing is this meat, ground beef meat, which we have in a big bowl, or medium size anyway. Since we are going to be adding stuff into the meat, you should have really not too small bowl, because you will use your hands to mix. Yeah, you will use your hands to mix the meat. And then I will just add everything. That means we are putting in first onions, garlic, salt, black pepper, paprika,
Is paprika a common spice
yes,
in your cooking?
yes. And then we will put some parsley. And then we will add rice. It's washed. Means got stuck.
Someone just asked if you're using hot spicy paprika, smoked paprika, or regular paprika in your recipe.
Regular. But that's, I mean, something, I'm trying to make everything over here as was made at home, or I learned from my mother. And I mean, depends, if you like hot, you can always add maybe some hot pepper flakes. When we have everything ready right now over here, I do massage all this with my hands. Well, and really it's getting.
Did you have the Vegeta?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I have.
Perfect. We just had the question.
Yeah. I'm confused. Did I? No, I didn't. That's a good question. And once we have everything together, I already start and pull out some cabbage leaves from the jar and prep that. That means when you have a leaf, you know, this is a kind of good size. You have to trim the middle cork as much as you can, not to break. If you get a large leaf, like this one, I mean, it's no waste to it, but you have to remove the middle part because it's hard to make easier to roll. And the easiest way to roll is to have everything in the middle and fold on the sides, and then roll, and then we are using a medium-sized pot tonight, since it's going to be just, we can fit all in one.
Yeah, for those of you that have attended our Mosaic classes before, you know, we're normally cooking for 16 to 20 people. It's a lot different just cooking for a couple people here tonight.
Yes. And, well, I cook, actually this dish, we are preparing for the benefit dinner we organize at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in a community to benefit the food shop, local food shop, Essex, Jericho, and Bethel. And Sarma is one of the dishes.
When would you typically prepare sarma? Like, is it a special meal for, like, I don't know, festivals or occasions, or more just like an average dinner?
I mean, it is really something kind of, it can be everyday dish. I mean, just having a sour cabbage,
Yeah.
it is a fall dish or through the winter. But you prepare for your family, but it has to be for especially when you have a holidays or something going on with your family and the friends, you would have a sarma.
Yeah.
In the winter time or fall. In the summertime, you would stuff peppers or green cabbage. I mean, not this green cabbage, like collard.
Fresh.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to boil to make
Carrot.
And this is how, once you roll, I usually go round, then I will make sure when it comes in the middle, it tighten up.
Oh, so you're making some with carrot and some without carrot?
That's because I just forgot.
Sorry.
No, hard to see behind the mic.
Yeah.
But maybe if there are people who don't like carrot, this
I
is
mean,
perfect.
if you don't like it, you don't have to use it, but I like all these vegetables to be present in.
Are there variations on the filling for this dish? Like, do other people add other ingredients?
Well, I mean, you can use any kind of ground meat. Meat.
Okay.
That means if you don't have a dietary restriction, which some religions has about pork, then you can use a pork. My mother always mix pork and beef,
Okay.
but marrying in a family who doesn't eat pork, I just use a beef.
Yeah.
And if I'm preparing for anybody else than just my family, I'm safe. Also, I prefer just to have a beef.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we can grab another one from the jar and see what we have over here. And you always trim to get your leaf easiest to roll as it possible. And now when we cover all bottom, you see it's tight. If we have now a smaller one, we can put in a tight even more. And when you're rolling, you are actually rolling, putting meat on this trimmed size in. What I just removed. On this side, you're putting meat in. And
So it matters which side you stuff it.
well, I was shown to do this way.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really, but I think it's already kind of prepped for the rolling, and that's.
So it's the stem side up, like the.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Always.
Great.
And then you just roll. It's two different ways of to roll. I'm always showing this one. It's because it's easy to remember. My mother used to show to me different way to roll if I am able to do with these leaves, because this is not something I pickle, really. But it's I'll show it to you. She was joking, though she was a cook, playing with me. She said, when you're rolling and making and stuffing, you have to close how you can throw in the air and doesn't open. I never tried it.
Oh, throwing in air.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna stay closed, and that's yeah.
Okay.
That's how she did. One side you still fold in, another one you pack in, and then you are kind of you have a. It's more tight than this one opens. Yeah.
So participants can feel free to experiment with these different methods.
Yes.
Of cooking
Yes.
them. Yeah.
I mean, it's a. If you're in a hurry, whatever way works best for you.
Yeah.
And if you, by the way, run out of the cabbage, you can always really just roll and make like meatball of this and just tuck in between, and then it's gonna cook and it's just gonna be stuffed. It's still gonna be flavored because it's gonna be cooked with all this cabbage, and it's gonna have the same flavor.
I had someone ask if you ever would double wrap a leaf, if there's ever like a large gap, if you would ever use another one, or would that be too much cabbage?
If it's really, I did with the small ones, 2 small ones combined, trimming edges to make really good size for stuffing. But if it's big enough, you can, I mean, if it's really very damaged, you can always, if you go through everything, you can always have everything on the bottom, underneath, kind of cooked cabbage, but, you know, very damaged. But if it's a little rips, you can still stuff it, and even more than this, you can still stuff it safely, and it's nothing going to come out, really. But depend. I like really smaller sizes cabbages. I would think that that is really size. If somebody likes more than one, can have one, another one.
Yeah.
But if you really stuff too big and you cannot eat, you don't feel it's too much.
Yeah.
That means it's still personal preferences.
Yeah.
How somebody likes to do it.
Does that mean when you are fermenting the whole head of cabbage, do you try to choose a smaller head, like about this size?
This is for me medium size.
Medium size.
Yeah,
Okay.
but because I buy also large blocks, and that's where I cannot choose one by one.
Yeah.
But this is a season of pickling anyway. That means if it's really some big ones, I can shred and make sauerkraut. Or I mean, it's always more people know about kimchi than sauerkraut. But I usually don't keep just the cabbage. I usually mix with the different colors of peppers, shred them too, chop them really, like to look like shredded, but it's not shredded. And then also carrots. And salt that slightly in a bowl and leave overnight, and then put that in a jar. And then you will ferment for another 2-3 weeks, and you will have a nice winter salad. I just made last night for the dinner for us. I shredded the cabbage and the beets and the carrots. It was really delicious.
Nice. Yeah. And you call it just a winter salad?
Yes.
Sour.
Yeah, because you add, if you're making just from a fresh, like I did last night, I just add a little bit of pepper, salt, and oil, and a little bit of vinaigrette, balsamic, just to have that sour taste. But if you are preparing to make a sauerkraut, then it's all ready. That means you need just a little bit of pepper over and a little bit of oil, and you have a dinner, salad for dinner. And yeah. I hope somebody used these tips.
These are great. You're getting an extra recipe in there. Yeah.
But we will have more than enough for tonight. Just have another one, and then it'll be too much food. In the process of cooking, what I want to really bring to everybody's attention, to keep this all still rolled in, we have to press with something what fits. It's a plate or the bowl to put inside of the pot to press down cabbage when cooking, because in the process of cooking with water around, it gets unrolled.
Okay.
And as I like, when I prepare especially stuffed cabbage, I like to make in the evening or tomorrow, start cooking, leave it overnight to sit, and then finish up just before serving. It makes a big difference because it gives a time for that flavor to really goes all around. And also, not until you see or start cooking this, you will see how I cook slowly. That means I'm adding, well, to start, you have to fill water in. But some evaporate and some rice eat. That means you have to keep eye on it and make sure that it always has enough liquid around, how it doesn't burn underneath.
So were you saying you usually would make this ahead of time and let it sit for a day, like overnight, and then cook it the next day to develop the flavor?
Yes.
For this dish?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Because it is a sour cabbage.
Yeah.
And I do use, sorry to interrupt you, my family prefers, we smoke meat in the wintertime, and I add actually chunks of smoked meat in to have that as a flavor. And that's what I brought in, it has that flavor.
So if people are going to make it ahead of time, they should just then put it in the refrigerator overnight to let it sit, or do you leave it out?
Well, when it's not hot, it can perfectly sit on your range.
Yeah. Okay.
I never had a problem of
really getting it after.
Yes, it's not finished process anyway, but it's for me it makes a big difference.
Interesting.
I don't know about others.
Yeah.
But that's what I like doing, and it works for me.
Yeah, see, that's great. That's one of the little details that I feel like by watching you and listening to you cook, we learn, whereas just if it was following a recipe, we wouldn't know, really.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And it takes a time. I personally, when it comes for chopping, I don't use electric choppers. Because to me, it means a lot that I know how big sizes of the chopped vegetables are in, especially when you are stuffing something. I don't want to poke things around. But then also in the process of cooking, it takes time for tougher, like a carrot, if it's a big chunk. It may not be cooked. I mean, we know we can eat a fresh carrot, but you don't want to really bite on something like a big chunk of the carrot in.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I chop everything by hand to small sizes.
Yeah.
This is with the carrots, but then onions and garlic, when they are chopped, they're usually mashed I mean, more onions than garlic, but it's also something what I'm not trying to puree, but that's why I do prefer to chop by hand. Even when I'm really cooking for big dinners.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I have friends helping and everybody got the chopping board and the knife.
Wow.
They complain, but they love.
So your cooking is always from scratch by hand.
Yes.
Often with ingredients from your own homestead.
Yes.
Right? From your garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so great.
Yes. I do.
And as participants are watching, if you have any questions for Davorka as she's cooking, feel free to send those in. Now is a good time. She's able to multitask and answer questions while she stuffs the cabbage.
I'm making now smaller ones just to filter in, and then we are going to put this to cook. And this is when it's served, when it's done and it's served, it's always served with mashed potatoes.
Okay.
And that's side. And that's why we left some parsley chopped to garnish that, just for the plate.
Great.
Yep. We did have another question come in regarding your cooking technique. They ask you mix and roll and don't cook it all the night before, it's raw, or you cook it partway, let it sit out, and then finish the cooking the next day.
Yes, I start cooking and I make sure that I mean, you can eat, it's cooked, but not completely. I don't. On a halfway of cooking, then that's when I add and make, like with the tomato paste. I leave in the sauce just from the meat and vegetables overnight, and then tomorrow, just when I start cooking again, then I will add tomato paste and, to finish up the process of cooking.
Perfect, thank you.
It's just funny when I'm buying something like this, because I preserve a lot, or try to preserve a lot. When I'm buying a boxes of either meat or cabbage, cashiers usually like, really?
You must really like cabbage.
Really? But having a catering business for now almost 10 years, I always enjoy cooking and preparing food and baking. And more of that, I love sharing it.
Yeah.
And I am a strong believer that my kids call me a food pusher, because whoever comes has to eat, doesn't matter if they are hungry or not. But food pusher.
Food pusher.
That's how they may introduce me even to their, significants and others as a food pusher. But, well, okay.
Well, they're pretty lucky to have a food pusher for a mother.
Now, when they are in their, married and in relationships, they like to ask questions about how is this or how is that.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy, to share that with them. Now, when we have everything in a pot, we will add water. I can just pour it on.
Yeah.
Okay. Trying not to. I'm back. It's really everything underwater. I'm using this bowl because we didn't have a plate. Heavy. This is a heavy. to press it down, and then we can still use and cover with the lid,
Okay.
like this, and put to cook.
Yeah.
Arrange to cook. I forgot to tell that just like when you have a leftover meat, as I said, you can always roll the meatballs and put on the side with this. But since we have really this part is really full, I'm not gonna add anything anymore. I think I will need somebody. Oh, I just this stuff. Okay, it's on. We can now really just turn it down a little bit.
So what level heat are you going to put it on? Would you say it's medium, high?
Medium.
Medium. Okay.
Medium to start.
Medium to start.
And then really, after it starts boiling, you can even put on low.
Okay, so keep an eye on it until it starts boiling.
Yes.
And
then really keep and see how much water is still at the flow.
Okay.
Because you don't want to get burned underneath. It's not going to burn up, but still underneath.
So to always make sure there's water.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
To check.
Do people ever use other liquids like a broth or stock, like chicken broth, or is
No,
just water?
no, just water. As I said before, you are getting a broth from a ground beef.
Yeah.
Even more than you think, because it's a ground and it's already soft. I mean, getting out all from a meat, but that means you're going to see results soon. But that's why I like always to have rather not less than 80% meat, to have some fats with it, to help that broth to flavor to cook. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Yeah. But then it's also how I was taught, and then if somebody really has dietary restriction and likes lean meat, you can still make it as you like. Really. But,
And for people who are not going to let it sit overnight after it starts to cook,
Yes.
how long would you say you should leave it on the stove?
well, I would at least cook for another. It takes about 2.5 to 3 hours slowly to cook.
Because it's that slow cooking that
Yes.
really brings out the
Yeah.
flavors.
And now when we have this, you got, after you clean your working space, you can peel off, your potatoes and have also mashed potatoes ready by time this is cooked too. It gives you, it's kind of, fill in, it's not, because it's nothing much more than right now when everything is in, then let it sit, cook, just check. Once in a while, really, you have to keep checking for water in your pot. But adding water in a pot when something already hot, you don't add really cold water because you are cutting off process. That's what I was taught. You don't have to bring boiling water on, but still not start with the cold water.
Okay, so if we see the water level is going down, we have to add more water. It should be warm or hot
Yes,
water.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
When does the tomato paste go in? Would you do that to the end?
Well, tomato paste you can put maybe after hour and a half in, And then, I mean, my family likes pretty much the sauce itself is a thicker because it's gonna go with the mashed potatoes on the side. And you can leave it just with the paste. That means with all this liquid, it's gonna thicken. With all this juices and you know, it's gonna thicken. But if you like thicker, you can always add just a half hour before finishing, mix some water with the flour and make like gravy, just you know, mixing in and pouring over, and you can add some more tomato paste or just even sauce, you know, tomato sauce, whatever you like, just mixing with the flour, with the water, and making that thicker sauce.
So this recipe really makes sort of two things, the stuffed cabbage, but then also a nice sauce that can go with the cabbage or the potato.
Yes. It's not just gonna be, you know, once you cook cabbage, it's just gonna be cabbage, you know, cooked. It's gonna leave the sauce, and you make sure that you really keep the sauce with, you know, Sarma as well. Yeah. Oh, turn over there. Now when we are back, I can start picking up. If somebody has a questions, can ask me.
I wonder about showing them how you would serve the final dish.
Okay.
Because in this class, we won't have the time, the full 2.5 hours to finish this dish, but Davorka has prepared an actual sarma that is ready and baked, has been simmered those 2.5 to 3 hours, and maybe you can show people how you like to serve it on the plate. So imagine we're going to fast forward 2 to 3 hours from now.
I'm just gonna wash my hands.
And yes, this is a time where if you have questions, feel free to send those in, and Carrie can ask Davorka.
One every time.
I'm a very messy cook. That's what my station always looks like when I'm done making anything.
When I'm cooking a lot, I don't really have time to, every single time I finish something, just get in the sink and wash. That means I go from one to another. That means my both sinks are usually full. And then I have a cleaning time. Usually I'm all on my own anyway. It's the way how I prefer. My mother was the same way. It's just about mess, but keep everything clean and dry. And your hands clean. Well. Okay. And, as a main dish, or whatever we eat, bread is very important to go with it. I baked bread at home and bring over here. This is actually with buckwheat, flour, white flour, and the barley. And I don't know about, we usually serve two. And then mashed potatoes. By the way, these mashed potatoes are from my garden, and this is my cabbage.
Wow.
And it's homemade bread. You got a special treat tonight. And this is how dish, once it's cooked.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, right now this is not warm, but we got the sauce over here inside. But that's why it's not kind of running around. But
Yeah.
if you are serving hot from a pot,
Yeah.
you will have a sauce,
Okay.
and then will be more on a plate.
Yeah.
And since I made this for you, I think you should taste and tell me.
Oh, that's so
Please.
exciting. Okay. Oh. Thank you. Oh.
I'm over ready.
Well, we wish you were all here with us tonight. This is the moment where we usually all sit down and share a meal together and discuss. But I will have the honor of trying your sarma. So it's nice. The cabbage has really gotten soft, and it's really tightly wrapped around the beef.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mmm. That's delicious. Oh, Davorka, it's so good.
And I did cook.
Is there a
little smoke meat? Smoke meat.
with a little smoked meat? I can taste the smoked meat. I was going to ask you, is that one of your own smoked?
Yes,
Yeah, pork or no?
it's beef.
Beef. Yeah, that is just delicious. Oh, thank you, Davorka. Wow. We really hope you will try this at home. It's just delicious. Would you say that there is a taste difference between the cabbage that you ferment at home versus what you bought at the store? Can you notice a difference in flavor?
No, it's just because I make a lot and I freeze mine once it's done.
Yeah.
That means it's really very flat
Mhm.
once it's frozen.
Yeah.
For me, easier to work with.
Yeah.
But that's the only difference. But it's just way how I do.
Yeah.
But I still have to remove, and slice, leaf part, pork
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
the leaf, and even toes, because that's part that is affected with salt.
Yeah.
And they,
Okay. Okay. That's delicious. If people wanted to have that smoky flavor, what could they use? Could they use bacon or?
Oh,
what would you
yes,
recommend?
they can, then again, I mean, in ethno store, they can buy pretty much any smoked meat. I think the other has pork and the beef, and whatever, or sausages, even you can buy polished sausage and really make chunks and put, just to bring the flavor.
Yeah.
It's a winter, we call the winter food and summer food back home. That means in winter food, it's really always about heavy stuff. And that is where smoked meat with a little bit fat on is a heavier. It's then also sour cabbage is good for the immune system because it's really C vitamin.
Yes, vitamin C. Okay, interesting.
And
Well,
those things are kind of to boost your immune system and keep you healthy in the wintertime. In the summertime, we stuff peppers and like collard cabbage or whatever. You can stuff onions,
Yeah.
and tomatoes, and black eggplant, and zucchinis made just little cups and stuff and cook. But that's why we call it winter food and summer food.
Yeah.
It depends really what you are making where and what you are preparing for.
Yeah, well, this was just a perfect recipe for now, for
Yes.
the beginning of October, as
It's
we
cool,
go into
yeah.
fall
I
season.
just add water in our pot with our cabbage.
Yeah.
And sitting for 2 days after I put the salt. I haven't did that and then I just add water.
Okay.
And it's gonna be probably, I'm not gonna open anything for Thanksgiving anyway.
Okay, so Thanksgiving, great. So now we will do our more kind of official Q&A part of the cooking class. We've got the pot simmering, and while we're waiting, I think why don't we come back and we can go over some of the questions that we prepared ahead of time. And this is also a chance for you to ask any more sort of broad or general questions about Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think perhaps to start to work out one of I think a very common question that people have when they are seeing the name of this country: why does it have two names, Bosnia and Herzegovina? So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, not until we did come over here, really, that just using Bosnian, that we noticed that it's two names. For us, it is one country with two names.
Okay.
But it's actually two regions.
Yeah.
In that country, it's a northern part, it's Bosnian part, and southern part, it's Herzegovina.
Okay.
And it's one country, one culture, one people, but it's actually climate is different. We in Herzegovina, we like to say that we are warmer and we are more happier than Bosnians. And other than that, everything is the same. Like Sarajevo was a Winter Olympic, city, and but in Mostar, being in the middle of the center of Herzegovina, it was always kind of center of the ball. Things have changed since last war a lot.
And you are from Mostar originally?
Originally from Mostar, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what was it like growing up in Mostar, and what would you like people who've never been to Bosnia-Herzegovina to know about this region?
To me, Mostar is the most beautiful city in the world. For people, we have a saying that you may leave, but Mostar will never leave you. That's true too. It's actually did come the same saying from the people who visited and got really attached to it. It's very rich with the culture differences. We never noticed until this war came, because we are all one. But actually, that is what makes us specific, really. And right now, living over here and doing all of this, with the cooking, it was for me always that I wanted to preserve something when we moved over here for our kids, that is dietary and also culture to our kids. But little by little, getting myself involved and being part of the community, I already share with our friends to get out and share more with others, and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And for my friends back home, when I see them, usually I see them when I go to visit and we all get together, they said, that I'm best ambassador of the country. To really use something what is the best of all of us.
Yeah,
That's our food.
yeah.
Place where Bosnia-Herzegovina is, it's really in the middle of one of the west and the east. Between Christian churches, Orthodox is in Rome. Border is on the eastern border of Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Okay.
All of that. This is not the first, but I certainly hope it's the last war it happened. It happened before, and it happened in different centuries, and it's always bloody. But all countries have some issues with something.
Yeah. What are some of the typical foods that you would say, besides Sarma, are there things that Herzegovina are known for in terms of typical food?
Well, Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's, I mean, our food over here, especially in Wellington area, is very popular. It's a pita, burek pita, cheese pita, sirnica, or potato pita, or what you know, spanakopita is actually zeljanica. I had a class about that too over here.
Yeah.
And that's actually homemade use. For the class, obviously, we use filo dough because it's easier and faster. Making dough itself is a class for itself. And then to put all together, it has to dry and cut. And but in the home use I make my own dough and I make my own filo dough at home and roll everything. But then also we grilled and roast and put in bits and like special lambs or Christian who eat. They also roast pigs as well. And when driving by restaurants, you would see all these, you know, coming around and getting ready for lunches.
Yeah.
But pita is really a thing. In Herzegovina, I made also stuffed grape leaves. In Herzegovina, especially Mostarian, that's kind of really for Mostar, because in Mostar we make stuffed grape leaves. It's really vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free. And no meat. I mean, some other countries, like we have a culturally we are attached to Turkish tradition or Arabic because Turks Balkans for 500 years. But these dishes vary really through the region, different regions, what is mixed in. Not until I come over here that I find out that really stuffed grape leaves with Arabs or Turkish people mix out with the meat, lamb meat or mix with the beef. But our stuffed grape leaf is really just vegetables, and that vegetables is just a mint and scallions with rice, and I cook with olive oil and then stuffed grape leaves, and also, you know, for people who has dietary restrictions, you know, choosing or because of health issues, that's really something what it really fills all these other spots than just being with the meat.
Right.
But it's
So we have had 2 questions come in about sarma that I want to hop back to real fast. Someone asked if there's anything else you usually serve it with other than mashed potatoes. Are there any other traditional sides, or is mashed potatoes sort of always with sarma mashed potatoes?
well, I mean, I've been serving over here because some people prefer rice, and then you can, I mean, it has to be a salad. You can have, if you are there, you're gonna be served with mashed potatoes.
Mhm.
And when I'm trying to present a dish, I'm trying really to present dish as somebody would serve to you originally. I don't really try, when I'm making and preparing, I'm really very conservative of keeping as much original as it possible. And that when it comes for the serving, but it can be served with the rice. That's really, and bread.
And somebody else wanted to know, is the texture of the finished filling close to sausage? Does it sort of condense into that sausage texture?
Not really, because it's sauce. It's a loose.
Yeah.
It's not really all stuck together like in a sausage.
Right.
You try.
And you know, I would say I
It comes
wonder.
apart.
Right, it comes to apart, but I feel like it maybe the rice is expanded
Yes,
a little bit,
yes.
so it makes the leaf pretty tight around it, which
Yes.
is really nice. It sort of
Yes.
has a compact feel.
Yes, but
Yeah.
then rice also helps to how it doesn't get meat that tight.
Yeah,
For like in a sausage.
yeah,
You
it
know,
helps keep it
it's
loose. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Were there other questions about the sarma in particular? I think one thing I'd love for you to just mention again is where can people go to get their smoked meat or their preserved cabbage, the sour cabbage? Can you just mention again the Euro market where you like to shop or any other places?
Yeah, well, that's place where most of us like to go because it's really it has a lot, and it is actually from not just for our needs. It's really from all around Europe, different things. But it's Euro Market. It's on Wilson Road.
In South Burlington.
South Burlington, yes.
By the Price Chopper.
Yeah, that little marketplace with the Price Chopper and Abushan and Giants. It's just they are facing the street.
Yeah,
Their entry is facing the street.
yeah, it's a lovely little shop to go into. There are all kinds of treats and
And
ingredients.
they also have every day they have a fresh baked homemade bread and also rolls. It's my son loved those things.
That's great.
Well, my grandson loved as much.
Well, speaking of your grandson, I was wondering, Davorka and I had a conversation when we were planning this class where she shared that since becoming a grandmother, she has been given the honor of caring for her grandson as well as cooking for him. And one thing that I love about your cooking, Davorka, is that you are always so focused on having the healthiest, freshest, most local ingredients, and many of them that you grow on your, I would say you now have sort of a little farm at your new house, which is really neat to see. And you have, it sounds like, some good advice for folks who might be new parents cooking for young children. Would you be willing to, she talked about perhaps even teaching a class in the future on baby food, how to make healthy, nutritious baby food. Could you talk a little bit about what you like to make for your grandson?
Well, he's now 9.5 months old, and that means officially, doctor says he's officially on solid food.
Solid food, okay.
All of them, but you try little by little, and since I started watching him, not before 6 months, I started introducing him to different things than just mother's milk. But maybe I really did start first adding to mother's milk because he was just blogging on the bottle, not chewing things in his mouth. And then little by little, like I make ground, like make rice flour and barley flour. I make myself. I don't have my own rice, but I make my own flour just for him. And then I start with that, but then little by little I was adding to that, like I would stir fry a little bit of carrots, and then I would, when it's that well cooked, I will add, that rice flour or barley flour and little things to teach him really to start using his mouth rather than just walking, milk down, to prepare him for the real solid food.
Okay.
And that's really what I did with my kids. And I want to do and help my daughter-in-law and my son as much as I can. And my son jokes around, or my friend, they said, he doesn't know, but maybe someday he will know that, he got his personal chef.
You really are a personal chef. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, little by little, he loves Baka's food.
Okay. Baka is your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
does it mean granny, grandmother?
Yes, grandmother.
Yeah, Baka. Okay.
Yeah. And he's, I think, when you're watching a little one, as much as fulfills you, it fulfills him. We have our time.
Yeah.
He is always, he knows exactly when he is to eat. I don't forget about that. I may be a little off, half hour, whatever, with my timing, set him up. But his time clock tells me, and he will let me know now when he's ready to eat.
Oh.
And then I also make him, as you said, I like to use everything I have fresh from the garden. Well, we live in Vermont, that means we really have a fast, short, gardening season. But I was picking up fresh berries from my garden just for him, because I just start. Really, I like to have a berry garden, like strawberries and blackberries and raspberries and currants. I plant all of that for us, but especially for him. That means first one always goes to him.
Oh, that's great. He's so lucky.
But it is, I'd be more than happy if some people has interest to learn more about and give him a tips or teach them, in the private classes or whatever. But I think it's, I know a long time ago when my daughter-in-law about to have him, and I said, if it's not necessary and you can prepare really food, I don't want you to buy something that is preserved. Yeah. If you can make it yourself. For the kids, if you start cooking something for yourself, you scoop it out once it's cooked, but not seasoned well. Something, that's what I do with my son now when he's almost on everything. He tries everything, little by little. And obviously certain things cannot be part of his diet yet, but whatever he's allowed to have, he has it. And he loves it. He loves the bread too. And now I make little bites on the side for him, and I'm feeding him with a spoon that he can put in his mouth. And it's all about teaching him, really. But it is also more than that, because it's what it means to me. Yeah. And I'm very happy that I'm able and I'm willing to do that. Yeah. And, because I think I keep telling him he doesn't understand. I mean, I talk to him, but I always tell him that help comes to the mouth.
Help comes to the mouth. Yeah.
Help comes to the mouth. Keep you healthy, it's you eat. And he loves Baka's food.
Oh, that's so great. And this really is a way that you're transmitting your knowledge of cooking and the tastes of the home country to him. Yeah. Which is really special.
He is crawling and getting up. That means even if I pet him, if we are eating, he comes next to you on a chair, like, pick me up. What is there? Yeah, that's what happened last night.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it's that, you're right. His mother loves to cook. I love to cook. And I think all that having in the air, it's also, kind of what makes him really, and he's attracted to it.
Yeah, interesting.
He's a healthy baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of learning to appreciate foods and learning to cook. One of the questions we had was really about your history, and you mentioned earlier in the class that your mother was a professional chef. What was it like growing up with a mother who was a professional cook, and how did you actually learn to cook? Did you come to the kitchen and ask her for lessons? Did she tell you to cook? What was that like?
Well, you know, as much as I want to confess myself to myself, as I told before, I like to be by myself in the kitchen when I'm cooking.
Okay. Yeah.
She was exactly the same way.
Okay. She didn't want children running around.
No.
Okay.
I mean, she teaches us to cook. But, you know, now when I'm thinking about, you know, what she was trying as a cook to bring to our attention is that chopping potatoes in goulash, it's not the same chopping potatoes in a kaya. That's two different dishes.
Okay.
A way how potatoes supposed to be cut and split, it's how that dish supposed to have it.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, I didn't think about these things before until I start to really, as I said, to present something to have as much original as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is mattered to me,
Mm-hmm.
to keep that originalities
Mm-hmm.
for it, how we do and we to present that food. And I'm really happy if I can do that. But she was tough, really.
Yeah.
But anything we make, she always complain. I always, it's completely different raising kids than in America. It's not good job, really. But it's what kept us going, me and my sister, kept us going to prove to her and do it right way.
Yeah.
We are both excellent cooks.
Yeah.
And our husbands and all family and kids, they love it.
Yeah.
And but on the other hand, whatever my father tried, what we made, he would tell her that we make better than she does. And that was kind of opposite, and we were in between, and that it turned just about right.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough, but I'm really very happy that I have her in my life.
Mm-hmm.
To learn from her in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but everybody back home, my generation can cook.
Okay. Interesting.
And it was a culture thing.
Yeah.
I was brought up to know how to prepare food to feed my family.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter of your school education,
Yeah.
how far you go,
Yeah.
you're always gonna be,
Everyone cook.
you are always gonna be, you know, wife and mother and
Mm-hmm.
preparing foods for everybody.
Yeah.
And nourishing everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's, when it comes to that nourishing goes a little deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
It is when you're around the family and families together and we are eating together and conversation around the table and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not just food, it's everything nourishing. It's everything.
Yeah.
But things change, like here, you know, a lot of I'm actually happy to see that younger generation, millennials, whatever it means right now, are more attracted to the really fresh, homemade, how to make yourself, all these things. Even raising a kids, I see that they are attracted to way breastfeeding and doing things what almost got lost.
Yeah.
Like I did all that in 80s, but it just before that generations almost lost that. What was or what is really most important
Yeah. Yeah.
for your child.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And I feel like you're really offering such a gift with your cooking and your classes to all of us here in Vermont, sharing this part of your life that's so important to you. And I feel like you nourish your family, but you're also extending that to nourishing all of us and teaching us these skills. So we are really, really grateful for you. to be here tonight, Davorka. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any last either questions about Sarma or more general questions for Davorka before we say farewell for the evening? Feel free to send those in. One thing I was just wanting to mention is that one of the goals with these cooking classes is also to provide a platform for the instructors, who many of whom have catering businesses or restaurants, to be able to get those services sort of advertised. And Davorka, as you have heard, cooks for many people, does many events. She runs her home cooking business, Mostar Home Cooking, is that it? Catering,
Yes.
home catering, and she cooks for events up to 50 people, and she has a Facebook page where you can go to get information if you're interested in contacting Davorka to be able to cater an event. During COVID, how are you doing it? You're doing pickups at your house? People could come
Yes.
pick up food, or you deliver?
It's really whatever someone prefers.
Yeah.
And we have been, like everybody else, is affected by that. And in a way that, it's everybody kind of close and do more themselves at home. But I mean, we are in a business and we are cooking and preparing. And if you like the food I make, you can check on our Facebook page and call me or contact me about, and it can be delivered or picked up as you prefer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think we live in much different times than anybody can ever imagine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I take life as just comes and goes with challenges, and then it's always a new day and better day.
Yeah.
And that's what we all have to keep in our mind, and then go on with our lives.
Yeah, and cooking is a great way to do that.
Yes,
At
I
home.
love baking and cooking.
And baking as well, absolutely. Yeah. Is there any last advice you want to tell people about the Sarma? Anything else to consider? So after about half hour, an hour, we would add the tomato paste at this point. Is there anything else we should let them know about this recipe?
Well, as I said, if you like a thicker sauce, you would add on the end half hour before, just maybe a little bit more paste or tomato sauce, whatever, mixing with the flour to thicken the sauce. And really keep it, the sauce. It's not just, stuffed cabbage you are putting on a plate. It's the sauce itself as well. And, but everything else, I think, once you try, you will enjoy.
Yeah, I can attest to that. It was delicious.
Yeah.
Well, once again, Davorka, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a real pleasure to have you back in the Teaching Kitchen and to have our class participants back with us. It's going to be great to have these more participatory classes as we can now online. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. And just so if you want to mark your calendar, our next class will be in November, the second Wednesday of November, which I believe is November 10th, 11th. So stay tuned on the website for that. We have an instructor from Congo Brazzaville who will be teaching that class. So that should be great. This class, again, will be available on the website and will be sent out to class participants after this. So feel free to, use that as you're cooking in your kitchens at home. We definitely hope you'll give this recipe a try. It's really delicious, and I think it was a great choice for a fall dish, as we've got lots of cabbage right now. So thank you for joining us. Have a great night.